In order to write and learn HTML and CSS, you need a good editing tool to assist you. It doesn't mean you don't have to understand what you're writing, but tools help you to find mistakes and to learn more about your code. I am using Adobe Brackets for my lecture videos here. And when you install and open Brackets for the first time, this is the screen that you will have. You will see an HTML document here in the main panel on the right. On the left, you see a navigation bar with files. Up top, you see a menu bar. The file that is opened will be highlighted in black and blue. This is index.html. The most common file name for the home page and any page in a web folder is index.html. Now, this file is inside this folder, and you can see the different files also that are in this folder. On the right-hand side, we have some tools. This lightning bolt is the live preview. Sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. What I generally do is I launch it once, and then I keep it open, and I just toggle back and forth. That way I don't have a lot of different tabs open. Now notice it's just very interesting if you look at the path. When you install it, it works with what is called the localhost internal web server. And this is essentially just a getting started guide. You can read it, you don't have to read it. There is a lot of documentation on the internet. So I'm going to minimize this. All right, so let's learn how to open. From the File menu, we're going to create a new document. However, you can also open an existing document somewhere on your page, or if you have files in a folder, you can actually open the folder, and you can save all, etc. All right, so let's File New. Now, notice it's untitled, and it doesn't know anything about what type of file you're going to create, because you could create a JavaScript file, a CSS file, in addition to many other extensions. The first thing that I do is save this. The reason why is because once Brackets knows it's an HTML file, the features will kick in of the editor to help you writing the code. So I'm going to say File Save As, and just to make it easy, I will create a folder on my desktop, and I'll create a new folder, and I'll call it CSWB110, and I recommend you doing the same, creating a folder for this course, and then maybe subfolders for each week. So I will call this index.html. Now notice on my left-hand side, I have two index.htmls. Is this confusing? Not if you understand. Notice the one in blue text and the black highlight is mine. Okay, the other one is the other index that was opened that belongs to these folder down here. Now, the minute you put your cursor over a file, notice there's the X. So I can very conveniently close that so it doesn't confuse me. However, this is like your recent files. This was the folder we worked in last, and that's still there. I just typed in my basic HTML tags. The document starts with, this is called the Doctype. It's telling the browser what version of HTML to interpret the code to. And the Doctype for HTML is just plain HTML, no number 5 there. All right, underneath that we have the opening and closing HTML tag. Inside, this is for accessibility. This is not telling it to type in English. That means that a screen reader will speak and interpret to a visually disabled person in the English language. All right, very important. There are two sections. And notice when I click on an opening tag, it also will highlight the closing tags. Most HTML elements are two-sided. The word element and tag are used interchangeably. Technically, there is an element and it has either one tag or two tags. All right, there is a head section and a body section, which is inside the HTML. All right, the only thing that goes in the head section are certain tags, such as the meta tag, which determines the character encoding. This is a one-sided tag. You may see people doing this on one-sided tags, putting that /. That's the old XHTML convention. You do not have to do that. The title is shown in the title bar of the browser. This is not the title of your page. Everything that shows up on the page is in the body. And I get so many students confusing this. They think because it's a heading element, it goes in the head section. That is incorrect. Headers, headings, footers, all go in the body. All right, so let's start out with, we will create an H1. Notice how nice this is. This is my editor helping me. Okay, and I'm going to write heading level 1. Heading level 1. And just for purposes of learning, I'm going to just show you something. There's before and there's after. And I'm going to save this. I can say File, Save, and I'm going to launch my preview. Most of your HTML elements are what are referred to as block level elements. Notice heading level 1. There is a carriage return on top of it and underneath it. Notice that before is considerably on top, after is considerably on the bottom. This element actually extends all the way across. How do I know that? Well, if I were to just add some quick CSS here, which you'll learn in a couple weeks, you can see I just put a background color inside my heading level 1. Okay, this is my heading level 1. That is my element. The element contains text. Okay, the text is not the heading level 1, and it doesn't stop right there. The heading level 1 is the container. What we have in the HTML languages are container elements. These are structural elements. The goal of the HTML language, that is a house where we put our content. Most of the content is text, some of it is images also, and we'll learn this as we go through. And in the future, you will be learning that the best way to actually see where your structure is to use borders or background colors. We will cross that bridge later. All right, so we have 6 heading level elements, and the size of them is pretty much just dictated by the browser. Here again, you want to test your pages in at least 2 different browsers. It's a good way of seeing some differences. It's also a good way of finding mistakes. And the more you start writing code and playing with it, the more you'll start learning it. All right, so there are some defaults that automatically set by the browser, such as the type of font, such as margins and padding. We'll learn how to adjust that later. All right, so we have 6 heading level elements, and you can do exactly what I'm doing. You can code these elements in the browser and see the difference. We also have paragraphs. And I have inserted some lorem ipsum filler text inside my paragraph here. So if I save this and I reload, here we see. And right now, everything is extending the size of the window. If I were to change my window, it would flow. This is what's called a fluid layout. We will learn how to impose structure on our web page later on. And all of that is accomplished using CSS. Here again, HTML is just the container where our web page content is placed. All right, we also have block quotes. So let me change this. And sometimes it makes sense to run your code across for short lines. Sometimes I like seeing my opening and closing tags stacked on top of each other. Indentation is up to you, it's your choice. Here again, the editors help you with that also. So let's take a look at a block quote. A block quote indents both from the left and from the right. And these are called semantic elements, meaning they have meaning. A block quote essentially should contain something that is quoted, something that is offset. Paragraphs are just for general paragraphs of text. Headings are for important phrases in order of importance, one being the most important. A line break, and let's put the line break right here. Essentially does exactly what it says. It just puts what is underneath it. So this is where the BR went to, and we're just down one more line. We also have what are called phrase elements. For example, if I wanted to make this italic, and just be careful, the editor doesn't know what you want to do, so sometimes you have to copy and paste. All right, Control S here. Now we're italic. It is perfectly fine to nest elements. Okay, so elements can contain elements, but remember, if you're starting with one, you have to end with its ending tag. You're starting with the I, you should end with the ending. You should not mix and match them like this. Even though it works, it's technically incorrect, and look what brackets is doing. It's showing you that something is wrong. Here again, it technically will work. You're not going to see any difference, but it is structurally incorrect. The goal of this class is to learn well-coded HTML and CSS. It's not about whether it looks okay in the browser. It's about whether you are writing the code correctly. Well-written code is easy for screen readers to read and interpret. This is very important with respect to accessibility. Well-written code is easily searched by search engines and works well on mobile browsers. All right, so go over Chapter 2 up until lists, open up an HTML document, start typing in some code, and learn a little bit about how HTML works with an editor and with the browser. One last thing I would like to point out, this is where the title tag is, right up here.